Hello, everyone. My name is Adrienne Kaczminski. Today, I would like to share with you my conversation from last January with Martin Kvale. Martin is a sound designer and composer on Plausible Concepts' real-time strategy game Bad North. Martin and I originally met back in 2013 at AES New York. There, we bonded over our mutual love for Norwegian rap. Since then, Martin has gone on to work on many games, to include Gunner, Hidden Folks, Owlboy, Keyboard Sports, Genital Jousting, as well as the upcoming Sable and Mosaic. I also want to mention that Bad North is now available on iOS and Android, and you can get the Yoten Edition DLC on any platform. So, let's begin the interview. Hey, Martin.
Hey, morning or evening, afternoon?
Almost the end of morning. So, could you tell me a little bit about Bad North?
Yeah, sure. Bad North is basically like a tower defense real-time strategy game. It's like a miniature diorama-like experience where you defend your islands from raiders, Viking-like raiders that try to come and pillage your lands.
So I started to play this game, and what I found really cool was just how oppressive yet charming the sounds were. Could you tell us a little bit about the emotions you were trying to evoke in the players?
Yeah. So I think the player emotions I wanted to evoke wasn't that well thought of before the sound design was kind of nailed. But I knew that what kind of felt right very early on was like a mix between realistic and unrealistic sounds. Like some sounds seemed that they would fit, and other sounds would maybe sound good but not necessarily fit in a realistic setting. But basically we wanted to make it feel like there were these small people, or like abstractions of people that you would have in front of you. Like the first iteration was actually like a mobile game. So the first time I tried it, I was sitting like this, and I would turn things around and I would see these little people in my hand run around. So I think like very early on we made like a demo video, and it had some ideas of how they would sound like when they hit someone, when they would sound like when they would run around and die and everything. So it just kind of seemed to fit, sort of like a mix between Gunner and Keyboard Sports, like where we made it sound realistic but small as it would look like on the screen. So abstract but realistic in equal doses, you could say.
I watched your GDC talk from Gunner, and you had mentioned that you don't like footsteps. Did this apply for Bad North too?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, footsteps was one of the first things that worked, which made me really happy, because then I didn't have to iterate on it a lot. Basically just made it so like the footsteps would be kind of like just blip, 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 like kind of cutesy, and it sort of fit the style. So I didn't have to think about it for the next 6 months, which was well. But yeah, I don't really like footsteps, and it's actually the reason, as you saw in the talk, probably why I ended up working on Gunner, because I saw a GIF and I immediately kind of felt that the indication of movement that sound could be in that game would be like the generation of tiles around the character, not like the steps itself. I think like over enough years I have gotten to the point where I find his footsteps like a chore. Like it's got to go in, and you can definitely do amazing things in footsteps and player character movement. Like there's a lot of cool potential, but I think like personally I don't find it interesting.
I also like your use of the rain sounds and the wind chimes and the loading screens and just all these beautiful, relaxing textures. It really makes it just just relaxing, even though it's all about getting killed over and over again.
Yeah, that's actually good that you say, because it's definitely like a weakness that I had from doing the Gunner approach, is that well, this is like generally how I also like to work. I work very experimental. So when I make something, it's usually I make that, but I don't make it with an intention. So when I put something in the game, it's because I think like, oh, I think this could work as this, but I don't have like 10 variations. I don't have, like 50 die sounds. I have like the sounds I'm testing it with, and if it fits immediately, then it's like, well, then it's also like, can I make this work without becoming repetitious, right? So I think most of the sounds, except most of the like voice sounds, is like me and another person, and a lot of the footstep sounds, like the basic footstep sounds, is only 2 sounds, I think. So it's quite sparse. Like I don't have 30 of one sound anywhere. The only game I have that, I think, is for sheeps in Hidden Folks. That has like maybe 34 sheep sounds,
Okay.
which is totally unnecessary. But I don't know. Maybe some people care.
The sounds have a lot of punch and they're very threatening, even though they feel, or they sound small, but they feel big.
Yeah.
And so what was kind of your approach to that sound design in general?
I was very inspired actually by the Settler game series, like Settlers World 2 and 3 specifically, which I played a lot as a kid. And I just kind of liked that they felt so cute, but they would still fight each other. And with Bad North, I wanted it to be very cutesy and pleasant. But we definitely also wanted to show that this is a diorama of a battle, but it's a diorama of a real battle. So, I mean, these creatures are dying, these people are dying, and you see that as well with, you can turn it off if you want, but you can see had a lot of blood. So once an island is done, you see like the smoking charts of houses, and the whole island is like pink with blood from fallen foes and friends, basically. So I kind of liked the abstract thing of having this cute diorama game, but making it feel very serious in moments. Like, for instance, there's some enemies later on that is just like this huge tanky brutes. We designed like the approach sort of music and ambience when they were approaching to be very ominous, to kind of give people, almost heartbeats, to get that up, to make them feel, I guess, that, oh, these people are very hard. Like, this is really serious now, like you're in danger. It's a lot of focus on, once you kind of get in and just enjoy the game in general, like the game will tell you in many places that, okay, this is actually serious and it's hurtful and these people die, and because they have a lot of personality. So I found that was fitting.
2 details that got me with the game was when your archers get all of the soldiers who are on the boat. So if they all die before the boat reaches the island, the boat just kind of comes along and it's just this empty boat that reaches your shore. And I don't know, there's something that was very tragic about that. And also when you can knock your soldiers off a cliff into the water, and the bubble sounds of when they're drowning. Like, it's cute, but it's very tragic at the same time.
Yeah, no, that was some of what I found was the most fun, and it was basically like marrying these 2 other styles of games I've worked on, and it was very fun to do because it sort of like meant that I could experiment a lot within these kind of constraints. And I really like constraints. Like, if you listen to the Gunner talk, like, I love putting frames to what I do. And it was nice to kind of have two concepts of sound design kind of mingle and see what happens. For Gunner, for instance, the constraint I had was I could only use this one tool, like the OP1 synthesizer. Like, for Hidden Folks, only mouth sounds and no treatment of said mouth sounds. Kind of like a Gonzo editing even, like there could be like small mistakes on it, and that was fine. But yeah, with Bad North, it was definitely fairly loose. It was kind of like whatever fit was good. With music, that was way looser. Like, I'm not usually working as a composer much, so that was more, I wanted to challenge myself to make music for the game. And the one constraint I had was actually I want the sounds to speak for themselves as most as possible. So I don't want music to sort of be always in the background. I have it for specific things like the menu and the map, for instance, but if you get far enough ahead from enemies, like on the map screen, then the music sort of dissipates and it's just like the ambience instead, quite natural ambience of wind and a little bit of waves. And especially when in-game, I also wanted it to be like, music should be very functional, and if it's not very functional, I don't really want it in. So each enemy type has a different kind of sound when they approach as a wave. They have a landing sound, and music, I mean, and those are like their cues in a sense. So every time when you play it the first time, you will hear a new kind of music, and then you haven't heard it before, and it's maybe like 20 levels in, and you by then kind of know, oh shit, something new is coming. I don't know how or what this will be.
One thing that I've noticed with playing your other games and with Bed North is how you're able to mix so many assets. Like you have very unique textures, and those textures never feel repetitive or annoying because of how they're mixed. Like even in Hidden Folks,
Mm.
like for me, usually mouth sounds really bother me. Usually, and I was playing the game and I was like, I'm not bothered by these mouth sounds. Like almost always, it's just usually something gets on my nerves, and it didn't get on my nerves at all with Hidden Folks. And it didn't
Thank
feel
you.
repetitive either, which was amazing just because it's all mouth sounds. It's very constrained. So, what is
Yeah.
your approach to mixing and implementing lots of different textures?
Basically, the fact that I get in early into a project, it allows me to like have a lot of time, um, and that I could very much let things sink in, and basically at my own pace. When things annoy me, I go in and iterate them. And because I spend so much time with the game, I always get tired of things, because I will spend a large portion of the time, sitting with it. So when the game is release ready, I've basically already had like a year or two to kind of like iterate and kind of make sure about these things. It's different for everything. Like with Hidden Folks, we also have like a special sort of rules for what is sort of like background sound and what is interesting sounds that are interactable or hint people or something like that. But I think it's just a lot of iteration. I believe iteration is king when it comes to games. Like nothing is ever done before it's done, and which, which can annoy people if they're very much like list people. Like, can we have this done by that day? I'm like, well, maybe, but I'll still work on it. I think probably like the first game I did, called Among the Sleep, which is like this baby horror game, that kind of at least got me very sensitive to ambiances, because I'm not much of a composer, but I kind of wanted to turn it into a strength for the game. So the game relies on ambience, like almost like music on cret, in the sense that organized noise is music. But otherwise, like I really rely on a lot of people around me. I think like I listen to my teammates. I think I was lucky when I came in to get like people who would teach me, like Jory Prum, who was my kind of first mentor. And yeah, I have like good friends like Erik Surke from Spelunky, and Jonas Turner from Nucleophone, Niklas Ström, Rich Reland, Jørn Lavoll, Bendik, and Arlas Funcom. Like all these people that I just send stuff to. Like I need to get out of my head sometime, and it's good to have other people just telling you what they like and don't like. I know that I could never compete with any Blizzard game or like Battlefield 1, which I found was amazing sound design, and like a lot of these impressive games that have teams of like 20 people whose sole purpose is like one small part. Like the Gorilla team has like at least 5, maybe between 5 and 10, I guess. Like I don't have those resources, so I think like if I try that falls short, and I also don't have or the skill to do these kind of realistic things that have been done so far, to get it to a level I would like it, I kind of need to have it abstract, like to be happy with it what I do. I guess that's why I really like these kind of weird games that I'm doing, right? I kind of get to at least not be necessarily sick of what I do, because I'm not a perfectionist in that sense. But it's been very educational. Like I'm working on a game right now where I'm it's like a composer involved. There's two other sound designers for like listening and critiquing, sort of are looking for gaps and pops and attenuation issues and stuff like that. And those things I'm not good at hunting down at all. But it's really really fascinating to see people who like have the preference of being disciplined and thorough, and how amazing they can make something be.
With the Norwegian, well, the Scandinavian game scene in general, you have the Copenhagen Game Collective, you have the group in Hammer, you have Raw Fury in Sweden. For people who are trying to get into the Scandinavian develop scene, what would be some advice that you'd have for them?
I think with audio especially, and quite a few others probably, but audio is so much based on like if you can work on many projects, and often you need to cover rent and stuff like that. So personally, what worked for me was very much was going around and meeting people. Like I love to travel and I love to meet people. Like, I mean, that's how I got to meet you. I traveled and went to AES in 2012, I think.
13, I think.
Might have been, yeah, okay, it might have been 30. Yeah, in New York. And and I think like basically the more I travel, the more I kind of feel projects sort of happen. Like I'm not good at selling myself, and I say a lot of stupid things, but I feel like after some time, I guess people have know me well enough that I say stupid things anyways. But I can, at least I'm serious about making sounds for games. So I think like basically the work I've done before is a good business card. I think with Krillbite, the first kind of thing I did to get to work with them, which I'm still working at today, was actually approaching them with this really small iOS game I worked on when I was a student in Australia, called Abracadabra, I think. And I showed them like, hey, I have worked on games. Check out this game and listen to it, right? It's a small community in Scandinavia, it seems. So, I mean, we have a joke that, you know, we have one Martin for each country. It's and it certainly helps to travel around and just be like nice and collaborate and jam and have a beer every once in a while, or beverage, of course. If you don't drink, that's a good tea is also perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Come to the site class, have some coffee.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
site class is amazing.
Yeah, always so early though.
Oh yeah. Oof.
And
I mean,
for
that's how
preparing
you
for
can
that
see
again.
that's how I can see that it's valuable, because it's so early. It's in the middle of a really hectic conference, but still people meet up enough that there's like 3 rows now, right?
I know, yeah. Basically the entire top floor, just rows and rows of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's pretty amazing that people show up so early.
Yeah, but it's very valuable. Like I remember
Yeah.
the first year I was at GDC, it was amazing. I mean, I got to meet a lot of amazing and really kind people, and everyone seems happy and positive and willing to teach and stuff. And it's the only time I've ever like fan
Fanned
personed out. Yeah, fanned out. I was standing next to Matthew, actually, who did the Don't
Yeah.
Starve, and I was playing that so much at that time. So we were talking a little bit, and at some point, I was like, "Yeah, so what do you do? Like, Don't Starve?" I'm like, you know, like kind of hard breathing, like, "Oh my god, I love the game. I was feeling so a lot."
How did you come together as Plausible Concept with Oscar Skolberg and Richard Meredith?
Yeah.
For working on Bad North. Not a very good transition there.
No, I was just admiring the way you said the Skolberg. That sounds pretty badass. But yeah, it's basically it's a lot to do with Raw Fury. Like I've gone pretty tight with them in that sense. Like I'm working now on the game number 4 and 3 with them, because we've done Bad North and Gunner, and it's now Sable and Mosaic, and it's all with them. So basically, it's I think it's again a little bit that's what I said earlier, that I mean we got to know them, and it was pretty early when they were setting up their company, and I think there were 3 or 4 people working there back then. So it's more like I got to know them, and at some point when they got the new studios, they would suggest me sometimes for some of the games, like oh yeah, you should talk to Martin. Like we know this guy who could do sounds. So that was KM, who's part of Raw Fury. He would I think he suggested me to Oscar, and I was in Copenhagen and took the trip over to Malmo, which is like 40 minutes train ride. And we had like a casual coffee, and agreed to do like a sound test.
What's your favorite way to play Bad North? What's your favorite platform, since it's on just about everything?
Oh, I think mobile, when it will come out, like probably my iPad, where I play a lot of games.
It is coming out for mobile?
I have no clue if it's been confirmed, so maybe we should.
Oh, okay.
No, I think it's confirmed. Yes.
Is
it definitely confirmed? Yeah. It's coming out, and I haven't played it on my iPad, but that's I try to kind of stay away from my work computer as much as possible when I play games. So
Yeah, I'm the
like
same way.
PlayStation, Switch, and iPad is like my go-to
Yeah.
go-to things. These days I'm playing a lot of Age of Empire. No, wait, Civilization 6 actually, which is amazing
Oh.
for iPad.
Yeah. I haven't been able to get into the. Well, it's one of those games where I think I'm going to get completely addicted to it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like games by Blizzard, where if I
Yeah.
delve into it, I'm going to never stop playing it. So it makes me
Oh,
not play
yeah.
it.
No, same. I like Diablo 3, for instance. I really don't like it. It's like a game I don't feel like playing. But if I start playing it, I will just play it for like 50 hours before I put it away.
Yeah.
It's very pleasant. I feel like with Blizzard they polish so well that there's nothing really sticking out annoying you. So it's
Yeah.
so sometimes I guess like that's also why I like Civilization 6, because nothing is grating me when I play it. The same with Overwatch actually. I like to play Overwatch a lot because I never get the feeling. It's gonna sound maybe arrogant, but I guess like the professional ear will always suggest to me like I would have done this or I would have done this. But when it comes to like Overwatch or Civilization 6 right now, I don't get any of that. I just have this is the way it should sound. You know, that's my just
Yeah.
brain completely relaxes and I manage to not think about it. And that's like a blessing more and more the more Warcraft feels sometimes.
On my last question, which is where can people follow you and follow your work?
Oh yeah, I have a Twitter account that I try to use a lot, which is at Martin Kvale, which is spelled Kvale. My first name Martin is spelled like how you would maybe guess it. And the same goes for webpage. I have martinkvale.com. Or you could check out like Steam store and maybe find me somewhere in a game or there or forum. But mostly the website page and the Twitter.
So, there you have it. I want to thank Martin for speaking with me and for being so patient while this interview was being edited. I also want to remind everybody that you can play Bad North on PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Android, and iOS. Thanks for watching. I would say you all sound very stoic,
Yeah.
which is not too much far of a stretch from just being Norwegian. So
Yeah. Yes. I am terribly happy now. I feel great sadness.
Very nice.